What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to the BitLab Academy. My name is Kelly Kellum, and I'm here to address something that is a major concern for me in the way I have my altcoin portfolio set up right now. And as you can see, this is an altcoin portfolio I started setting up February 7th. And there's an issue here. When we're looking at all these coins that I have, there's a glaring problem, and that is my goal with this portfolio was to address various different sectors of the market and find coins that would have incredible utility over time and not only be able to carve their own path, but be able to ride some of those niches, some of those narratives across the entire crypto ecosystem. So what do we not see here? We do not see an interoperability coin. So what am I talking about here? Polkadot. We do not have Polkadot. Now, we do have Chainlink in here, and yes, this does bridge that gap between Web 2 and Web 3. It's that Oracle real-world asset tokenization, but it's not really a competitor with Polkadot. Polkadot, if you look at the most basic elements here, the block space ecosystem for boundless innovation, what does this really mean? What their goal here, the mission of Polkadot is true interoperability. Polkadot enables cross-blockchain transfers. This is going to be key with so many different crypto projects out there and all of them addressing slightly different niches. There's got to be some framework. There's got to be some architecture. There's got to be some rails that can make speed of access, speed of use, speed of utility between all these different chains. Otherwise, everybody is just going to be competing with the same market. When you have an asset like Polkadot, which is addressing this issue, you're able to really capitalize on this idea of utility over time. This is an investment that I can get behind. So Polkadot enables cross-blockchain transfers of any type of data or asset, not just tokens. Connecting to Polkadot gives you the ability to interoperate with a wide variety of blockchains in the Polkadot network. Now, what type of chains are in this Polkadot network? We have so many different chains here within this network, but this sort of interoperability is not just limited to the coins that are built on top of Polkadot. And there's some powerhouses of projects that are in this ecosystem, but I'm talking about cross-chain between Ethereum, Cardano, recent partnership between Polkadot and Cardano, expanding on some of the things they're doing there, but being able to really use what each individual blockchain is addressing in their primary mission, their primary utilities. And even if that's not the case, maybe you're just out there, you're an investor doing things across different networks. You want to be able to transact and interoperate between these things without having to bridge every step of the way, without having to send from this to USDT to cross-chain. Let's simplify this. If we expect mass adoption in the crypto ecosystem, in the blockchain ecosystem, then we need to have ease of use be one of the primary rails to deliver that type of thing to this space. So let's jump back in here. I've got a couple charts I want to go over and show you why I think Polkadot is one of those absolutely undervalued tokens right now, and especially with the recent drop that we've had, seeing price going essentially at the same price it was back in April of 2023. So if you felt like you missed the boat at all, I'm telling you right now, I think you got another thing coming, because we have an opportunity right now to really take advantage of some of these things going on in this space, because there's a lot coming to Polkadot. They've been moving forward with a lot of not only their innovations, but applying and deploying some of these evolutions within their chain to the space. So let's go ahead and continue on here. So they're talking about interoperability. They want economic and transactional scalability. Basically, they want to, their goal is, and what they're really moving to do is working to implement future-proof scaling up or upgrades this year. That's in Q2 and Q3. All these things are starting to roll out, moving from parachain auctions. And what are parachains? Parachains are essentially these parallel chains running alongside on top of Polkadot, allowing for very fast scaling, allowing for the ability to utilize the security of each individual chain at the same time while being able to interoperate between these two different protocols. Now, what does this mean? Why are they moving away from auctions for apps and to launch on DOT? They're moving away from this to implement something called core time, which is going to be absolutely incredible for the development side of things. But let's be honest, where we're at right now in this ecosystem and the entire crypto ecosystem, we forget that we're kind of lost in our own bubble here because we are so far ahead of the pack. But at the end of the day, in order to drive this adoption globally, we need as much meaningful development as we can actually have deployed on each of these different chains that you're really interested in, and doing it not only in a meaningful way, but a way that is supported by the underlying chain, in this case DOT, with all these parachains on top of it, but making sure it's also financially and economically feasible for all of these different dApp developers and different protocol developers and parachain developers to be able to not only interact with the chain, but be able to evolve with it over time, because it doesn't become an economic barrier to entry. These auctions, for instance, on these parachain auctions where everybody was basically bidding on these the block space within DOT. Now they have this thing called core time, which is going to really support the development on these on all these parachains and help drive this space forward. It makes it more economically feasible. It also is going to show a lot more development on GitHub with all these parachains. We're going to be able to have a lot, basically support from the ecosystem to allow these things to really move forward meaningfully. Now, moving forward with this, we can also see that right here, the Polkadot platform, we're talking about Web3. All of us get so lost in really still understanding what Web3 is. There's a lot of websites out there that they throw that Web3 word on there just because they're trying to ride a trend. But Web3 is truly an innovation in and of itself. And in order to step into that new future where everything in the Web3 world is basically assigned value and identifiable, transparent, provable ownership of different assets, different items, different tasks, everything is attributed to and trackable. And I mean this in terms of not just like I'm tracking what you're doing on a website. I mean, like, I can prove that this is my identity. I can transact this with you, and it's provable through all the mechanisms. So when we're having all these different protocols being developed and deployed within the blockchain ecosystem, we need something like Polkadot. Also, its competitor Atom is another contender within this space, but I think Polkadot holds not only a larger market share, but has a huge amount more movement in this space forward to really driving not only the narrative of interoperability, but actually starting to really see this being made possible. So Polkadot mission. Polkadot will enable a completely decentralized, this is a key thing right here, decentralized web where users are in control. This is the primary tenet of Web3. Okay? Polkadot is built to connect private and consortium chains, public and permissionless networks, oracles, and future technologies that are yet to be created. This is the hardest thing to comprehend right here. Future technologies, building our protocols now to account for future technologies that are not even yet considered or even starting in development. This is a monumental task for technological developers right now, not only in blockchain, but in all aspects of technological innovation. How do you, I don't want to say future-proof, but how do you account to be somewhat modular, to be able to adapt to the changing times? And this is only happening faster over time. So the fact that Polkadot is thinking about this and it's part of their mission statement tells you something about where they're planning to go with this over time and how long they're planning to be around. So let's take that into account when we're considering, is this type of chain something that is decent or interesting to potentially invest in? Now, we're not going to just buy something because I said it. I don't want you to buy something because I said it. I'm going to share all these points that I've been going through and essentially illuminate why I feel like my portfolio is missing out on having this as an asset there. Now, we can also see this is a blockchain unbound. Now, one of the things, I'm going to kind of sort of poke fun a little bit at Polkadot here, but it's not just them. It's even me here on YouTube. We get sort of locked into figuring out what are the best keywords, the best taglines, the best things that can immediately make you resonate with what they're doing. And this ties back to what I just mentioned a second ago about this idea, this blockchain unbound by lack of forward thought. Okay. The lack of forward thought is really what has constricted the ability for a lot of technology to have grown in the past. A lot of things have outgrown their initial missions, because the mission and the desire of the consumer, or the desire of what the utility needs to be now, has changed. Well, Polkadot, this goes back to that statement. They're looking to really not be bound by this lack of forward thinking. This is wonderful. And this is where Parachains come in. Parachains are advanced next generation layer 1 blockchains that transcend the limitations of legacy networks. Specialized in interconnected parachains make up a diverse ecosystem of independent platforms, communities, and economies, improving the way we connect online. Now, the reason why this is important is because essentially what Polkadot has done, from my perspective, essentially what Polkadot has done is built an ecosystem. Let's stop thinking of some of these chains. Some of them are just coins. Some of them are just, a protocol. But when you look at something like Polkadot, what it really is developing an incredible ecosystem, a framework for which a broader array of utilities can be built and delivered upon, while sharing in the security layer of the underlying chain, in this case Polkadot, but also sharing in the speed of transfer, the speed of acquisition, because they're within that ecosystem. In addition to the fact that Polkadot has built and innovated a way to have interoperability with things that are outside of their parachains, outside of their ecosystem as well. When we talk about the interoperability with Polkadot and Ethereum or Solana or Cardano, this is what we're talking about. So it has the ecosystem itself, which is not only has its own independent utility being Polkadot, but also the entire parachain network that is an independent networks being built on top of Polkadot. So it's essentially, what did I say earlier? When we're trying to find coins that have utility, Polkadot is showing that not only is it a coin, a project, an asset that has utility, but it is nurturing and building and considering the future of ecosystems that can build on top of it. Thus, to me, that is a definition of future-proofing something, where you're always having essentially you're an incubator to continue to develop and grow outward. This is utility to the max for me. So parachain equals possibilities, as we see right here. While other blockchain protocols only allow developers to build dApps using smart contracts, Polkadot gives them full control over the underlying blockchain itself. This is absolutely incredible. This flexibility gives parachain developers the maximum freedom to optimize for any use case. This is that idea of future-proofing, which means better and more secure dApps and services for all. This is what I'm talking about. And there's so much going on here. I have so much I want to cram into this video. I'm going to try and get through it quickly. But as you can see, they're doing things that are incredible. We can see right here, DePIN has been a huge narrative lately. But remember, this isn't just going to be a narrative. This will have a speculative run-up, speculative push in this DePIN narrative as it's being talked about. But even outside of the speculation driving prices up and them coming back and then all this nonsense, let's think about it like a venture capitalist. Let's think about it like where things are going in the future. DePIN is that. It's that fundamental layer, that fundamental framework architecture, that the infrastructure that all things will be built on top of. If the world truly is moving more digitally, which we cannot deny, then this new digital space, remember, we've had like the analog, although it's digital, we've had like the analog version of the digital world, which is the Web 2 coming up to where we're at now. Now we're moving into that next generation. We're moving into something that is going to be expounded upon beyond our imaginations with Web3 because of blockchain. So when we are thinking about a city and how in order to build a city, you need roads, you need waterways, you need plumbing, you need all the infrastructure layers before the city can truly grow and be built. And sometimes they happen at the same time, and that's okay. And what's happening right now when we're talking about DePIN being that narrative, all these infrastructure layers, storage, right? File storage. We have you could in some ways consider bridges in terms of like bridging between ecosystems, part of an infrastructure layer that's somewhat on the periphery. But we also have things like energy, different projects. AI is going to be a major part in all of this, and we can see that within the Polkadot ecosystem. There's already quite a few different projects that are within this DePIN landscape, and it's only going to increase over time. And there's going to be things that are auxiliary protocols that are I don't want to say augment, that also support each of these independent things over time as this ecosystem grows. We cannot even really foresee where this is going, but the fact that we have this sort of fundamental protocol that is not only being interoperable outside of its chain, it's nurturing this ecosystem of some that also has these plays that are going to help the broader decentralized world. This is incredible. Even coins like BitTensor is here. I think it's built on Substrate. And I could be incorrect there. I believe it's Substrate, which is a parachain. Okay, we got Origin Trail, been around forever. This is almost what I consider like a legacy coin, been around forever. Crust, it's one of those file storage plays, right? We got a Seer network, Anchor. There's so much in here. This is not at all limited in terms of the Polkadot ecosystem. This is just one subset of it. We can see right here, Akala. I just mentioned that before. And this is, remember, when we're talking about utility moving forward, we want to be interested in truly, not only is this chain going to do well, like whether it's Polkadot or Cardano or Chainlink or Avalanche, what I'm looking to really is I take the name outside of it. I say, what is this ecosystem doing? What's the coin itself doing to support the ecosystem, creating that strong fundamental layer? And then what is the activity? What's happening on top, within that ecosystem? In this case, Akala is a great example. And shout out to DZ from Discover Crypto, who made a great call on this, several videos over on the Discover Crypto channel. So definitely go check those out. But here it says Akala's Sinai upgrade is extremely bullish. Now, why is this? This update is set to enhance the liquidity, one of the most important things if you're investing or trading any asset. It also shows you how much tangible interest is in that asset because there's liquidity that is attributed to this specific thing. That's like voting with volume, voting with dollars versus just saying, I like it. Well, if you like it, do you hold it? And I'm telling you right now, you're going to see my portfolio take some changes here in the next couple weeks, especially the next time I DCA. Polkadot is going to be entering because of all this data. So this update is set to enhance the liquidity layer across all major blockchain networks, including Polkadot, Ethereum, Solana, and select layer 2 chains. This will increase the inflow of money into the DOT ecosystem by allowing one-click cross-chain bridging. This is the type of thing we want to see, that not only utility, people's interest, community, all these things that we are aware of, but the data here that is showing the ease of use is only going to improve over time. This is something that I'm really bullish on. Yes, we're talking about Akala here, but also remember, talking about Polkadot means to talk about a broader ecosystem. That's what I'm really getting by here. That's what's so exciting to me. We can also see top projects in Polkadot Parachain ecosystem by total website visits. Now, this isn't going to give you any data to buy or trade, but what we can see is tangible proof of a lot of interest, not only in Polkadot and Nodal and Aster Network. Aster's been making some huge moves lately. Parallel Finance, Moonbeam, absolutely crushing it lately. HydraDex, Peak Network, Akala, BitCountry, and Origin Trail, all these showing a lot of interest just in people visiting their websites. People at minimum are broadly curious about this ecosystem, and it's only going to improve over time. Now we can also see this is a little bit more of that broader landscape of the Polkadot ecosystem. A lot of major players here, as I said, BitTensor, Centrifuge. We got Oak. I like Oak a lot. HydraDex is going to be doing some very interesting things coming up. We also, I don't know if it's on here, but Hyperbridge. Hyperbridge is something that we can really, that can really drive cross-chain adoption through their decentralized and trustless bridge mechanism that utilizes the DOT protocol. This is the type of thing that I'm interested in. These projects that are thinking forward, thinking ahead. How do we interoperate, but also drive utility, but also make it more secure? Security has been a major problem with the blockchain ecosystem, as there's so many different points of attack because we're doing it ourselves. That's one of the things we trade off with decentralization. But there's a better way to do it, and Polkadot is essentially building an ecosystem that's addressing a lot of these key concerns. So with Hyperbridge, as I just mentioned, coming back, the great thing about this bridge is that it operates without intermediaries. It significantly reduces risk. It does this through utilizing the security mechanisms of the blockchains it connects with, like Optimism, Arbitrum, Base, I believe Solana as well, and a long list of other ERC protocols as well. I mean, so this is what we want. We want ecosystems that are building ease of use, but also things that aren't as sexy. Infrastructure isn't sexy, but if you invest in infrastructure early in the right type of projects, I guarantee you, you're going to think it's sexy when it buys you a house. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to do that, but I'm saying when you pick the right projects and you do your diligence, and that's what I'm trying to walk you through right now, some of that diligence. So let's go a little bit deeper, and then we're going to be wrapping this up here with a couple thoughts on Polkadot. So never overpay for block space. Again, I meant to throw this in earlier, but this is when we were talking about core time. As we want this ecosystem to build, we also wanted to support meaningful ways, layers, and the economy of these developers building into this space. And when they're, basically competing for just with dollars for block space, that becomes somewhat prohibitive to smaller projects. Now, there's a lot of things you can do. You can do bulk core time. You can do on-demand core time. This is important for developers. But again, even if that's not sexy to you, this is going to mean that it's going to become more fruitful, more inviting, more ease of development for the developers, which is only going to stimulate further development on this chain. So these are the types of things I can get behind. So when we're looking at Polkadot now, let's come over here and just come to CoinMarketCap and scroll down. Let's see, it took a little bit of a tumble. I think it was up around 10 or 11, and it's dropped down to 14, but this is okay. We're seeing a lot of movement in the space right now on the crypto market with this. We're right around the time of the halving for Bitcoin. Times are uncertain with the geopolitics and all that, but when you just look at where we're at in the market cycle, when you look, even just take the market cycle out of it entirely and look at what the development has been over time and the track record, Gavin Wood and his team and all the developers and also the ecosystem developers on Polkadot and all the Parachains, they clearly are building into the future. They're not doing that for it to go nowhere. We're seeing huge developments within that ecosystem. And so, yes, it's at 14. We can see the market cap's about 9.4 billion, but let's take a couple looks here and at some key metrics we need to pay attention to on any asset that we're potentially investing in. So what we can see here is, sorry about that. So what we can see here is the market cap's about 9.4 billion, volume 200 million, looking good. If we look at this over time, let's go to the all here. We can see we had two major pumps, which signifies a lot of interest here. There had a secondary top here. There were some projects last cycle that did not. So this is interesting. But what does this look like outside of price? What does this look like if we look at the same chart with market cap? So this is what's sexy to me as an investor. This shows that we still have a huge amount of growth just to get to previous all-time high. Excuse me. But then we also have with the market cap, there hasn't been such, abnormal, incredible inflation that the market cap has less of a way to go. Thus signaling that this is, it's not always going to hit previous all-time high. But even if we got up to where the golden pocket was on this, and we'll do another video on Polkadot breaking down the price action, breaking down some price targets. But the golden pocket on this, if I do remember correctly, is around, let's see, it's around 20 something dollars. No, it's all the way up here. I was way wrong. See, all the way up here in the $36 is a golden pocket here. So not even considering going to previous all-time high, if you were to invest now, and remember, see where we're at right here on the price action? This is at the same level we were back here in April 2023. You felt like you missed the boat. Sometimes that boat comes back for you, but if you're scared to get on the boat, then you're not gonna be able to ride that trip to promised land. Now, this from that point here, that's 5x just to get to the golden pocket. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go there, but looking at what's going on with the crypto ecosystem and how much global awareness is coming in, especially because of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. You think that doesn't affect things like Polkadot and the other altcoins that you may be holding? It absolutely does, because it is a gateway of not only the commercials and mainstream media advertising for those, it's just making people more aware of blockchain itself. And we are going to see these ecosystems explode. That's not even considering as they're implemented into everyday use in our lives. And many people will be actively involved with blockchain in their everyday life with not even knowing it in the next few years, because it's going to be so integrated in everything we do. So we talked about the market cap's about 9 billion. The peak market cap came all the way up here. Look at this, all the way up to $53 billion market cap in the last top of the last market cycle. Now, if we have more people coming in this time, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, especially considering how strong the ecosystem is with Polkadot, especially considering how much is being built on top of the Polkadot ecosystem. And that's not even to account for the fact that, yes, they have an infinite supply, but this isn't the worst thing in the world when you have the right mechanisms in place. Circulating supply right now is 1.43. I think the inflation is going to be, I think I read somewhere between 4 and 5%. But when we consider what's going on here, they have token burns with a lot of these new future-proof, scalable upgrades and all these things that they've been working towards that are starting to roll out now in Q2 and also in Q3. And I'm sure it's going to be more and more as this ecosystem grows. But they have token burning that's also tied with what's going on. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong here, but with the core time, the money that's involved with the core time, if it's not utilized in the right, if it's not implemented for certain projects, if there's excesses, there's burns. And again, that could be slightly wrong. I've read a lot on this project, but we're seeing this right here marked out. Look at this. We've had 176,000 burn on this day. We come over here to this, we come over here, that's 450,000. Over here, 368,000. I'm just looking on all this data here. We can also see right here what's going on with the treasury, what's going on with their inflation. And so although there is an infinite supply, the majority of the new tokens that are coming out are going to nodes and stake pools, stuff like that. It's not just being released onto the market. Now, does this mean that we just throw everything into Polkadot? It doesn't necessarily mean that, because we want to have broad exposure. This is why I've shared my portfolio with you all. I have so many different things, but as I mentioned, I think if you're going to have a basket of cryptocurrencies in your portfolio, my strategy suggestion is to make sure that they're addressing different parts, sometimes overlapping different parts of the ecosystem. And I have a glaring error here in not having something that's the interoperability of Web3. And so that's why I look so deeply into Polkadot. And that's why I wanted to share this video with you. And so much so that I also want to shout out with Polkadot. Thank you for making this video possible, because you guys have been making absolutely incredible strides forward in the ecosystem you're doing. And I'm honored to be able to do this video brought to you by Polkadot itself. So thank you very much. If you have any other questions about Polkadot, feel free to reach out to me here on BitLab Academy. I'm live every day, Monday through Friday, 11:45 p.m. a.m. Eastern time. And I will be doing a part 2 to this video, breaking down some price action on Polkadot and showing you what my price targets are for Polkadot in this bull run. So with that, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. I hope you like this more in-depth breakdown of this crypto project that I think is going to be entering my portfolio. Do what you feel like is best for you. Do some diligence. I think this one's a winner, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.